Welcome. This is a tutorial video on how to determine the sampling distribution of the sample mean. To start, we will first define what is sampling distribution. To sum it up, the number of sample size that can be drawn from a population size can be given by the formula NCN, the number of combination of sample space from the population. A sampling distribution of sample mean is a frequency distribution using the mean computed from all possible random sample of a specific size taken from a population. The probability distribution of the sample mean is also called the sampling distribution of the sample mean. The steps in constructing the sample distribution of sample mean is first, determine the number of possible sample that can be drawn from the population using the formula NCN, where N represents size of the population and lower n represents the size of the sample. Next, list all possible sample and compute the mean of each sample. Lastly, construct a frequency distribution of the sample mean obtained in step 2. To properly explain, let's try a sample problem. Setting age as the population 3, 6, 9, 11, and 12 respectively, determine the sample distribution of the sample mean having a sample size of 2. To determine the sample distribution of the sample mean, step 1 is to list all possible sample of size 2 from the population. Step 2 is to compute the mean of each sample by adding all the numbers together, in this example 3 and 6, then dividing the total sum by the number of scores used to getting its mean of 4.5. Step 3 is to construct the sampling distribution of the sample mean, acquiring the probability by dividing the frequency to the total possible sample size. Step 4 is to compute the mean of the sampling distribution of the sample mean by multiplying the sample mean and the probability mean totaling to 8.2. Then, compute the variance of the sampling distribution of the sample mean. First, subtract x to the mean. Example, 4.5 minus 8.2 totals negative 3.7, and 6 minus 8.2 totals negative 2.2, and so on. Next is to square all the sums of the total, such as negative 1.2 squared is 1.44 and negative 0.7 squared is 0.49. Finally, you will compute probability of x multiplied by x minus mean squared. An example of this is 0.2 times 0.49 has 0.098 and 0.1 times 0.09 has 0.009. Gather the total sums, thus getting the sample distribution of the sample mean of the population 3, 6, 9, 11, and 12, that is 4.11. That ends our tutorial video on how to determine the sampling distribution of sample mean. Thank you for listening and goodbye.